If you enjoy hearing these eerie tales and want more to help you drift off or keep you up at night, don't forget to tap the like button. It really helps the channel grow. The Crows. My best friend told this story to me a few days ago. This is from his point of view. Most people wouldn't consider crows as the most comforting birds. Well, they aren't most elegant of birds anyhow. Also, most people doesn't like their loud crying either. But to me and my wife, they are our lifesavers and protectors. I wasn't always fond of these birds either, but sometimes life finds ways to change your opinion. Me and my wife are both from the same small hillside town. People were mainly farmers. They were hardworking and many would say very generous. My high school sweetheart, my wife, and I were both 16 at that time. Farmers in the area decided to cut down the large banyan tree near the town cemetery. They wanted to chase away the crows, which lived in it, because these crows would often eat the crops and steal eggs. Sometime they would even raid kitchens. I was very glad at this news when I heard it. I was always irritated by the constant crowing sound, so to me the fact that people are trying to chase them away was a relief. But this was not the case for my girlfriend. They are just hungry, that's all. Sure, they would eat some of the crops, but do they even have to make such rash decision? This was her reaction to when she heard that the tree was going to be cut down. She's been like that as long as I could remember. She had sympathy and love for all living things, including the crows. Whenever we had time to sneak out behind our parents' back and have a little alone time, she would often bring breadcrumbs with her. She would feed them to the crows and other birds. I never really liked her doing that, but didn't say anything because I didn't want to upset her. But as I recall, many considered the tall banyan tree which spread over the creepy-looking cemetery, and the ocean of crows nested it as a bad omen. Only 2 people were objected about cutting it down. One was my girlfriend, other was an old man who lived near the cemetery. He was furious about them cutting the tree. But nobody listened to him, and they decided to go down with it. I still remember that day when they cut it down. They bursted firecrackers to scare the crows away. Then they cut down the large branches one by one, and finally entire tree. While cutting it down, a large section of the tree fell down and broke the wall guarding the cemetery. People didn't mind it that much as graves were fine. Without their home, the crows flew away, leaving some broken eggs and nests along with many dead hatchlings. As one of the mob, I was glad that they decided to chase those annoying birds away from our tiny town. As I was leaving, I saw someone untying the old man, who protested against cutting the tree down. The mob had tied him up before so he wouldn't cause a scene. I felt bad for him. He shouldn't have had such a harsh treatment. You fools. You doomed us all. He kept mumbling the same words over and again, sobbing and laughing manically. Over the next few days, I began to feel that something was different. Village was getting more and more silent. Birds weren't chirping anymore. Even the wind was getting silent. Something is wrong. I feeling scared. My girlfriend began to complain to me. Though I would console her, I couldn't shake the uneasy feeling I had. 2 weeks passed. I was going back home after I walked my girlfriend to her house. I began to do it a few days ago since she said she was afraid to walk home alone. My home was just beyond the cemetery. As it was evening and darkness comes early in the hills, I began to walk faster. When I was about to pass the cemetery, suddenly I saw something. The old man was running away from there, bleeding. He had an axe on his left hand. He collapsed at his doorstep. I rushed to his aid. Baba, what happened to you? Who did this? I asked him. He began to softly moan. Kill me now, boy, kill me. I thought he was crazy and was begun to rise up to call an ambulance. Then suddenly, he risen up and pulled me down with monstrous strength and roared, "Listen to me, boy!" I was scared. What do he want it with, I asked. "Listen, they are coming, and there's no way to stop them all," he mumbled. I asked him who was coming, to which he replied, "The dead." I still didn't have a clue, which made him angrier, but he calmed down and asked me to listen. He said, "There's something evil, lives in this land. This evil don't let the dead move on, but instead twists their souls with jealousy and resentment towards the living. The dead wants to prey on the living and make them join their ranks. They are going to come out any minute now. The only thing they feared is gone. I asked what thing. He spoke while blood drooling from his mouth. Them crows. They feared the crows in that tree. You must be wondering why I didn't tell anyone about it. Because they think I'm crazy. I lost count how many times I tried to convince people to leave this town, but none listened. It's as if that evil wants them to stay here. I noticed people from this town are always pulled back to here, all laid to rest here. But because of the crows, they stayed dormant. Now that we cut the tree down, there's nothing to stop them. I was attacked by one of them. Please cut off my head now. I don't want to join them. Plas. Those were his last words as he succumbed to his wounds. I could clearly saw he wasn't lying. His body was getting darker and foul-smelling. When I saw his hands began to twitch, I took the axe and carried out his last wish. The sun was almost gone. I wanted to save my family. As I was running, I could hear tombstones moving in the cemetery. When I reached home, the door was open. There were no lights. I called for my parents, but none responded. So I somehow went to the hall and flicked the light switch. There I saw my mother, laying dead on the floor while father was eating her mangled corpse. I wanted to cry, but bit my tongue and stopped. I slowly backed away from there, as his attention was not on me. I quickly got out of the house. I could hear moans from our neighbors and loud screams. I realized that my girlfriend was in danger too. I ran through the plantations to get to her house. I could hear more and more people running for their life. I chopped some dead, who ran towards me. I had one mission then, and none was stopping me. When I reached her home, the door was locked. "Help me, someone. Please. Mom, Dad, don't hurt me." I heard cries. I was relived to know she was okay, but she was in grave danger. I broke the door with the axe, and hearing it, those things who used to be her parents rushed outside. I strike them down hiding beside the door. When I was sure that they won't get up, I began to call her. "Anita, come out, it's me." "Zerina." I heard the door upstairs open and she ran towards me sobbing. "Mom and Dad, something is wrong with them. They tried to attack me." She was crying. I asked her if she was all right, and she said she was fine. I told her that we are going to get out through the back door. I didn't want her to see her parents. I decided it's best to get out of town through the main road. Wind was rustling. It was going to rain soon. We slowly moved behind the building and hedges, avoiding getting spotted. Suddenly we heard another inhuman roar behind us. They spotted us and they were hungry. We ran for our lives. I lost my axe while running. While we are crossing the cemetery suddenly, Anita face down. Looking back, I saw a legless corpse clutching down her ankles. I kicked it head off, loosening its grip. She tried walk, but her ankles were sprained. I had to carry her and run. It had started to rain heavily. We were both drenched and my legs were getting tired. We were almost out of the town. Then suddenly, they trapped us in a circle from all sides. With no way to escape, I told her to close her eyes. I prayed for a swift death, though I know it won't be one. As I waited to be killed by the monsters, who were once our family, friends, and loved ones. Suddenly, I heard a crowing sound. I saw a crow was sitting on a nearby tree. Its eyes were glowing like embers. Seeing that crow, they halted at their tracks. Then suddenly lightning struck, lighting up the dark sky. I saw a whole army of crows circling us in the sky, with fiery red eyes. Suddenly, one of them made a loud, "Craw-wow" sound, and all others began to do the same. Their cries began shroud the rain itself. Then all of a sudden, they began come down attacking the undead. Some of them began fly around us like in a circle. I used this chance and began to run. We finally were about to make it to downhill. Suddenly I saw lightning hit the top of the hill. Earth began to shake. Anita said that it's a landslide before we even could react. Mud and water swept us away. When we woke up, we were both in the hospital, pretty badly hurt, but alive. The police constable who came to take our statement said the entire town was swept away by the landslide. They couldn't even find any bodies till now. I asked them how did they find us. He said, rescue team were searching for dead bodies, then suddenly they saw crows circling in the sky and thought that there must be dead bodies. They came and found 2 of you, unconscious and covered in mud, barely alive. We both decided not to tell what happened to anyone. We were the only survivors in a town full of 300 families. We both knew why they couldn't find any bodies, because they aren't truly dead anyway. Once we left the hospital, we were separated for a while. She was sent to a girls' orphanage and girls' school ran by the government, and I was sent to a care home for boys, since I was still limping from the accident. We kept in touch through letters. Once we were both working, we married and had 2 children. Our old hometown has since been taken over by the forest. Government prohibited resettlement plans there because of the risk of another landslide. But that place still has a grip on us. Sometimes we would both hear something in back of our mind telling us to go back, be home. Why wouldn't you visit your family? These voices are often followed crows, crowing in the yard, to wake us up from the trance, remembering us of the horrors, protecting us from